Welcome to the Chaos Theory Podcast, coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. Dive into everything happening in the world of professional wrestling. Let's get into the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Chaos Theory Podcast. If you don't know by now, you haven't been paying attention. My name is Mr. Chaos. So tonight, I have two very, very special guests with me. If you've been paying attention to my Instagram or my Twitter or anything at all, you know who I'm talking about. But before I bring them on, I told them I had a surprise for them. And I told them that there was a surprise, didn't tell them what it was. But this is absolutely one of my favorite things that I've heard in a long time promo-wise. And I couldn't think of a better introduction to give than have the mother of Mayhem give their own introduction. So with that, let's take a listen.
I'm certain you've heard the story of Adam and Eve. You have heard mine. My name is Lilith, created from perfection. But with perfection comes deception. It wasn't a snake that made Eve bite that apple. It was weakness, and I smell weakness. I saw who had the power and chose to follow him. It's time you know the truth that they've hidden from you all along. Alexander Crowley is no ordinary man. He is your eternal deity, your Davidian, the one who will show you your true path. We've been watching, and clearly we're needed at the hybrid experience. So much talent, worthy souls. The hierarchy should fear what we're going to do. But we aren't just here to make a name for ourselves. We're here to proclaim our rightful place in this world. And as the mother of Mayhem, where I go, destruction follows, as he so desires. So to those who oppose us, one by one, each will fall, fulfilling our prophecy and proving Alexander Crowley is the chosen one. So, meet your demise or join us. It's the last choice you'll make.
So that by far is one of the dopest promos I've heard in so goddamn long.
Thank you.
My guest tonight, guys, Alexander Crowley, the mother of Mayhem, Lilith, the Cult of Crowley. Welcome on the show. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So I have been, I owe this interview, the opportunity to Mel from Mission Pro.
Yes.
I put her over every single show that I do because she's fucking amazing. She's such a great person. And she deserves to be put over.
Absolutely.
Everywhere she goes, she deserves to be put over. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, great photography, but even more so, just a better person.
Absolutely.
So I was watching something and I saw like I don't know if it was Ken's 5 or a local interview here in San Antonio. You guys didn't even come to San Antonio to be wrestlers.
No.
So let everybody know what actually brought you out to San Antonio.
So I've lived here most of my life, and I own a salon actually out in the Hill Country, and I've owned that salon for 11 years. And we met through social media because we're both hairstylists, and so that's actually what brought him down here was me. And then wrestling, we've loved wrestling our whole lives, and finding a partner that also loves the weird, quirky sport that you do, it made it more fun for us. And then we found Hybrid and Chris, and from there we were in it.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, we didn't really, wrestling was something that we both wanted to do since we were kids, but it wasn't something that we were really kind of absolutely planning to do. We were lucky enough to do a lot of really great things with hair, and once we hit our kind of, I guess, final-ish goal in hair, we're like, okay, what's next? Like, what else do we love doing, or what else do we love that we can kind of just move into and segue and try something new? And that's when wrestling came into play. I actually tried to train when I was 19, when I lived back in Florida, but I was 19 and I was not a responsible child, so that didn't really work out as well. And
As are most 19-year-olds.
all right, exactly. So yeah, we got really lucky. So we actually found Hybrid through Richie Garcia and Brandon Weiss. We met them at
Wrestle Circus.
At the very last Wrestle Circus show, and I was already looking into them, into Hybrid, and they were kind of that nail in the coffin. I met them, and they were both really nice. And I messaged Marvel the next day, and he was like, "Oh, I've already been told that you were gonna reach out." So it was really cool. It's been a crazy journey, and it's been really cool how, the support we've gotten in such a short period of time. It's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have been. So I literally, Mel put me onto Hybrid. I've been lucky enough to have Drew Hu and Casey Blackrose and Brandon Weiss and all these other amazing athletes from Hybrid. And everybody kept telling me, you have to talk to Crowley and Lilith. You have to. Like, you guys will vibe. Because I tend to not be, like, I'm a 35-year fan of wrestling. But I'm also a guy who understands that away from Alexander, Crowley, and Lilith, that those personas, there's real people.
Absolutely, yes.
And that, to me, like, the Crowley and Lilith characters are dope. Like, I love the dark. This is meant as a compliment. The kind of Aleister Black, very satanic kind of vibe. I dig it. But what the more interesting part to me is to figure out you as people and you as, okay, so what wrestling did you like growing up? Who was your go-to? Were you a WCW fan or a WWE fan?
See, I personally, I jumped back and forth. I didn't have the A or B, but for me, like, obviously The Undertaker was such a big inspiration for
Both
the
of
way
us.
we move and the way we do things in the ring. I definitely take some stuff from Black and other guys like Gangrel, and just anything that was gothic in the 90s and today. I've kind of mishmashed everything. But honestly, one of my biggest inspirations growing up was Vampiro, and I feel like he's a man that isn't spoken about enough. He's extremely well respected, and the dude has gone through some gnarly stuff. And to me, that was one of the guys that really just, he was one of those first guys to kind of bring in, besides, RVD, he was one of the few guys back in the day that brought in martial arts into professional wrestling. So to me, he was a big inspiration when it came to creating the personas that we've created. Obviously, there's other inspirations. We know Lilith is from. Well, she'll tell you about Lilith. That's where she comes in.
Absolutely.
That's what I do. For me, I was WWE. I moved to Texas in '98, and you either liked football or you liked wrestling. And I went to a small town high school period, and Stone Cold actually had a ranch out by us, and so his stepdaughter went to high school with my sister. So she actually was in his house messing with his belts. So huge things for the little geek in me.
Oh, yeah.
But as for wrestler influence, of course, The Undertaker. But for me as a woman, I loved Lita because she was this badass. She didn't care.
Tattooed.
She do some really sexually driven storylines, but then she could kick your ass at the same time. And then I also love Trish. Like I think every woman has ever and man has loved Trish. It's impossible not to, because I liked how she was all about, sex sells, but she was good at it. And, she was never disrespected in a way that she could have been with her storylines. So those were two huge women influences for me, especially on the mic and trying to create a sexually driven persona, but one that scares the hell out of everyone.
Yeah. It's I can definitely see the Lita influence. Trish is interesting just because, like you said, she's more mainstream. She's the blonde, she's the fitness model, this, that, the third, everything that the persona of Lilith isn't.
Yes.
Now
her
that you
personality is what I love.
I can kind of see because Trish had this evil side to her that she could be conniving and she could be dark. And I can kind of see that spark of the stuff that I've watched of you. That's super, super interesting. And I can obviously see the Undertaker and the dark stuff. But what's great is your skills on the mic. That, to me, is something that it gets kind of underappreciated in a lot of managers, let alone wrestlers. And that promo that I played, when I watched it, I was like, God damn, like, this is legit. This is a simple promo. You're not over emotional. You're not yelling. You're not screaming. But it's something that you're keeping attention and scaring the shit out of the audience all at the same time. And that has to be goals checked off the list when you're doing a promo.
Yes. And especially when you're a darker character, there's ways, I think, you look at faces and how they go over with their promos. It is a lot of getting hyped midway through, or I'm here to do this, and this, and that's great. But when you're a darker character, your goal isn't to yell at people. It's to show them why you're there and keeping a calm demeanor. I think those are the scarier people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was going to say that exact thing is I'm going to be more scared of somebody that calmly approaches me and is ready to throw down than somebody that's yelling at me, Yeah. Like my big thing, I didn't realize this, but when I get mad, I get to that point to where I get so mad that I just have this laugh. And that's when she's like, oh shit,
we gotta go.
I gotta pull him away. And I think that's more of, you're going to be more scared of that guy that just like calmly stands there and just looks at you, or maybe chuckles or speaks very calm, or woman, rather than the guy that's just bouncing all over the place. Like, let's go. There is that difference. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So being that you're a darker character, you're kind of this, how do I put it? Priest of the Black Mass, if you kind of will. Is it nice to have a manager to where her promos are going to be fucking fire, to where you can kind of focus on, let me go kick the shit out of somebody. She's got the mic skills. Not saying that you don't, but she's got that, and I can just go kick the shit out of whoever I'm facing tonight. And
that's kind of when it really comes down to is I don't.
It's not good on them.
We've been fortunate enough in the hair world to do hair shows in front of hundreds, even thousands of people like that. You get me up there on that stage and I'm a completely different person. Like, I just go with it. I do what I've got to do. I can cut down a haircut. Like, I can break that sucker down to the tiniest little details. But it's more of when you put a mic in my hand and do it, or, sit in front of a camera where there's an interview, like, it kind of just goes over me. So it is really great having not just somebody, but having my wife, my partner, be able to accentuate something that I really am not good at. If it came down to it, I'm sure I could. But I personally know it's not one of my strongest suits. And so I just kind of veer away from it. I let her do that, and I do the wrestling thing. And it's really interesting I think the most interesting thing that we've had as of late is, we'll come out and sometimes we're a face, sometimes we're heel. But we still get, like, whether we're heel or face or whatever, like, it's more interesting to me, I guess, when it's heel. You get half the crowd chanting for like ASF. Like, I just wrestled him actually on my birthday last month, and we had half the crowd chanting ASF, like going off for him. And then we come out and we've got these other people chanting our names, and a guy even had like a happy birthday Crowley. Like, it was
sweet. And it's really hard to be heels when they're doing sweet shit like that.
Yeah. So I walked up to him and he tried a fist bump, and I just kind of walked away. And then on Sunday we wrestled down at Lucha-Maniacs, and I fought this super talented younger guy down there. And at the end of it, I had the same situation where a guy put his fist up, and I walked up and I got real close, and I looked around and people were kind of just waiting, and I did it, and the dude lost his shit, and everybody lost
their shit.
So it's interesting being able to kind of flip that switch with the crowd by a simple, a fist bump, no words. Yeah, no words, no anything. That was just boop.
Yeah. It's, you made a point about being calm and having somebody freak you out more when they're really quiet and they force you to listen. Jericho on his podcast used to say that all the time. That's why he went quiet when he came back to WWE the first time. He didn't want to be yelling at people. He wanted the camera to have to come in on his face, and then Mike had to pick up every single word.
Yeah.
And you're right, 100%. Like, the guy who's bouncing around and who's all hyped up and pulling his shirt off, that guy's not going to do shit. Like, you're all hype and bluster. The guy who's looking at you in your face and telling you, I'm going to fuck you up, and then staring at you in your eye, that's the guy or girl you should absolutely be terrified about.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about hybrid a little bit. Like I said, I've been very lucky to have a bunch of guys. Brandon Weiss was my first guy from hybrid, and there's a special connection between he and I. He's a former Marine. I was former Army. So we have that in common. But the biggest thing that I've seen from everybody coming out of hybrid is you guys are all very respectful and very, just very grateful and very kind of humble. And it's dope as a fan to see that, because sometimes you don't get that. Sometimes people are in the entertainment business and they're dickheads.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It seems to be that at hybrid, that's pushed to you guys. Like, hey, listen, you have this responsibility. Be good in the ring, but be a better person. Is that something that they push when you guys are training?
Oh, yeah. I feel Chris, he's been in the business, our head coach, 21 years.
I think about something around there.
And so he's seen the good, the bad, and everything in between. So he wanted to make sure that we, as the newer generation, know what to do and how to handle ourselves and be respectful in situations and professional at all times.
Uh-huh.
I think it can get difficult, because there are so many different personalities in this industry. Yeah. And but you just gotta keep your eye on the prize, kind of thing, is what he tries to instill in all of us. And we're not kids, we're nowhere near children. So for us, it's business is business, and we like to make sure that we handle everything in any business that we're involved in to the utmost professional.
Yeah, to an extent. Obviously, we all have our breaking point. So, but yeah, 100%. We are two of the older students there. So, with us coming from a different business aspect, we know what it takes to be successful in it. So he is very big on, hey, when you show up to a venue, you say hi to a promoter, you say hi to everybody else, you shake hands, and you do your thing. And if they ask for help, you help. If they need help breaking down, putting up anything. Your job as a talent, especially when you're fresh with whatever company it may be, is to be respectful in every way, shape, or form. Now, there are times where things don't really go right, and we've had a few experiences like that. Then we try to handle it the best we can. We try to keep it, we kind of just deal with it as we need to. But we're those people that we're prepared for everything. Whenever a promoter hits us up, we discuss, this is who we are. The first thing I say is, thank you for wanting to work with us, and I've got everything neatly packed in a Dropbox. The minute they say, all right, let's work together. Here's a Dropbox. This Dropbox has this, and that. So I think that also goes in the respect of them not having to chase you around to get everything when
or
you
go through your social media.
Yeah, or have to find it off YouTube. But yeah, I mean, respect is professionalism, really, when it comes down to it. That's the big thing that Marvel promotes, because the more professional, more respectful you are, the more people are going to want to work with you. So I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, it's been one of my favorite things is talking to everybody that I've had the chance to, is just how cool and how personable and how honest. Like I did an interview with somebody whose name I'm not going to mention because it doesn't matter, but it was very business transaction. It was not, there was nothing personal about the interview. There was nothing fun about the interview. Right.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it was a good interview. People still like the interview.
Right.
But as the interviewer and as you guys being professionals, sometimes through the experience you go, I guess it just sucks. But shifting away from that,
yes.
I want to know, you guys being a little bit older than everybody else, the first bump you took, how big of a shock was that?
So for me, For me, it was more of when I first started a hybrid, had already been partially previously trained at a different place that shall not be mentioned. But coming into hybrid was, breaking all those bad habits that I had formed. So the one that I struggled with the most, besides taking a hip toss, that was probably my toughest one, was a running bump. I was taking back elbows, and you're just constantly, you're, as a human, when you're falling, you want to catch yourself.
Yep.
That took me out for a couple of days. I actually went to that was when I started seeing a chiropractor, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you partially dislocated your shoulder because I was putting my hand down."
Because we're old.
Yeah, that was so beginning, that was probably the hardest one that I was like, fuck. Like it took me out for a couple of days. It was like, I think we all go into this thinking like, yeah, it's wrestling. Yeah, it's going to hurt a little bit, but you don't realize like, nah, shit, this is going to hurt like a lot at times. Not always, it doesn't always hurt a lot, but there are times you're like, oh, fuck.
For me, I bruise like a peach. I'm one of those people. So thank God I'm covered, because most of the people thought it was just involved in the tattoo. But I would say for me, it actually wasn't a bump. It was learning the ropes.
Oh, yeah.
So running the ropes and bruising your back. And I'm small. I'm 5'1". So those ropes already are not at the best part of my body.
Yeah.
And I've gone through them twice now.
Yeah.
Where I'll just go right through the top.
Just butt dive right through. But we have several rings. At hybrid, we've got 4 rings. And every ring's a little bit different. Like we've got a 20 by 20 in the back. So that's actual ropes. That's much different than running a cable one. And then we've got 2 rings, one of them which has a thicker cable cover, and then one that's got a thinner. So kind of jumping from one to the other, your body's like, oh, what is happening? Like they all feel so different.
Yeah.
And so adjusting is always
And
rough.
Chris, in the very beginning, like with me, because I was athletic prior to coming into wrestling. I'm just one of those people. I pick things up really quickly, and I wasn't picking this up, and it pissed me the hell off. And Chris would sit there and be like, "Don't worry, you're gonna get calloused. Like your body's gonna get used to it." And I was like, "I'm not getting used to it." 3 months into the ring, and I was still sitting there getting beyond pissed off at myself that I couldn't get things that other people were getting. And yes, age, mobility, all these other things come into play, but you do eventually, either you just get used to it, your body gets used to it or something, because now things don't hurt as bad. Now, if I do something different or new, that's a different story. It goes right back to hurting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that anytime you're introducing new shout out to my boy TW Takes podcast. I've got his shirt on tonight because I forgot to put him on the podcast. So he great. This dude is a good supporter. He's fantastic, and I'm trying to convince him to get into the interview game. I think you guys would vibe with him as well.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, when you try something new, like I sit back as a fan, and again, 30 year plus fan. I'm a little smarter than the young kids to the inside of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
When I see people jump off, like I was at a Mission Pro show, and I saw Thunder Rosa powerbomb Allison Kay off the top rope in a cage.
Yeah.
And I wondered, what the fuck must be going through their head? Like
I can tell you 9 out of 10 is like, tuck your chin, tuck your chin, tuck your chin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it looks like there's no way to prepare your ass for that bump.
Mm-mm.
No.
There really isn't any way to really prepare yourself for any bump. There
Especially
been,
flying bumps.
Yeah, there have been times where you're in the air and you're like, where's the off? There it is. Like you feel like you're up there for so long, and then finally it hits and you're like, oh, because if you don't breathe out, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah, it just looks. I was of the same mindset when I got out of the Army. I was like, man, you know what? I survived the Army for 10 years. Fuck it. I'll go do wrestling training. And then I talked to a local school down in Fort Hood, and I went in and I hit the ropes one time, and I was like, nope, fuck that. I'm too old. I love it. So I love the wrestling business so much. Like as a fan, it's been good to me. But no, I've put my body through way too much other bullshit to survive all the crazy shit that you guys do. So
Yeah.
you guys, you mentioned Vampiro.
Yes.
He's actually one of my favorite guys ever. I'm trying to get him on the podcast to do kind of outside of wrestling, a mental health podcast.
Yes.
Because in the military, just like in the wrestling business, mental health is crucial.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are on the road all the time. You're putting your body through hell. It's got to tear you up emotionally, mentally, as well as physically. But with you guys having your wife, having your husband by your side, how much of an advantage does that give you for your mental health?
I think it definitely helps. But it still does take a toll, because with us, not only are we wrestling almost every weekend, once or twice on the weekend, we're also training 4 days a week, and then we're also running a business outside of wrestling. So we try to, I think, if we don't have a show on a weekend, we'll do like a date night.
We try to get those in.
Yeah.
As best we can.
That helps a lot with the mental health, is definitely doing things that you enjoy outside of, we love wrestling and we love hair, but it's something we love, but it's also a job.
Yep.
So it's finding something outside of that, that can kind of calm it. So I think it's definitely helped having each other do this.
It's having someone who understands what you're going through, because they're going through it at the same time, and having multiple businesses intertwining your schedule to somehow still make everything work. It does wear on you. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So I have a full-time job. I do the podcast, and then I run a firearms training academy as well. So I'm running 3 different little hustles all at the same time. And there's days where I sit back and I'm like, okay, how much time do I have with my kids before I have to go here, before I have to do this? And it's like, thank God I don't have the physical toll anymore that I used to in the Army, but I can't imagine that the physical toll makes the mental toll any easier.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I see a chiropractor before we go do shows, and then I see a chiropractor after. I've got a massage therapist that I see when I'm in like just real deep pain. Because with us, when we're not wrestling and we're not training, we don't have an office job. We're not sitting down in a desk doing computer work. We're on our feet for 6 to 8 hours nonstop. Like we don't even, because of how tight our schedule is set, we don't ever really eat lunch. So like I've gotten really good now at having protein shakes ready to go, that I'll just mix in the back really quick, because we'll go, we'll eat breakfast, and then we'll go from 11 to 6 or whenever, 11 to 7, and not eat, because how busy we get in the business.
Yeah, it's gotta be insane. So I want to talk about a really good dude, Casey Blackrose.
Yes.
The kid is super young. He's 24.
Yes.
And I've told everybody that I can on every single podcast that I've been on to watch out for this kid.
Oh man, he's a beast.
He's going to. You guys, as a collective, are taking over the Texas wrestling scene. Him going all over, and you guys doing your thing. But the Cult of Crowley is on fire right now. But I feel like even separately, dude, Casey is one to watch. Like the kid has so much potential.
Absolutely. I mean, it helps that he's young, so his body can take a lot more than we can, or I can. But that, he has
crazy passion,
super crazy passion. He's super crazy skilled. He's always eager to learn something new. He has the drive of the best way to say it, like his mindset is that of an entrepreneur, which as an independent wrestler, that's where your mind has to be. You have to be business driven. You have to not only love this, but you also have to understand that you are a business. Mm-hmm. And that kid he gets in there, and you get the Casey that you get when you're talking to him like this, mm-hmm. but then you get him in the ring, and that's a whole different Casey. I mean, he is hard hitting. He will take anything from anyone and not complain one bit. I definitely see him, just really
doing amazing things.
Yeah. And, he's got his family as well. His family is so supportive. I mean, we've got a really supportive family as well. But I mean, his mom and his family, they never miss a show. They're at every show, and they're there, they're recording, they're screaming, so having that amount of passion like he has, and the drive and the support system that he's got. I mean, the sky's the limit for a kid like him. Like he'll have your back no matter what. Like him and I, we've dealt with some stuff since we've met, and honestly, we both actually started, I think, about a week apart, or even maybe days apart. I'm not exactly sure, but we really connected. Yes, we will be at PPW. We connected strongly, I think, sometime last year. I can't remember. What was before that?
COVID.
So we used to go to the gym together like 4 days a week. And we just got to know each other really well. And and we connected in a personal level. And then when it came to creating the Casey Black Rose gimmick, he was kind of not sure what he wanted to do, and we just loved him so much. So we're like, you know what? Why don't we do something together? Like, let's, And so when you look back to the beginning of the Cult of Crowley, or even just us, you see us turn him into who he is now. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to make it story driven, because I feel like a lot of things nowadays are just, let's just throw these two guys in there and they're going to wrestle, and it's going to be, don't get me wrong, it's going to be an awesome match. But I feel like
we're very story driven.
Yes.
Collective. We want to build up storylines at each promotion we're at, because that keeps the draw, that keeps people wanting more. It's like you watch a show and you want to see the next episode because they end on a cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we view everything that we do. And with Casey, he's a storyline. He's a storyline with or without us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've watched some of his recent stuff, and I've started watching a lot of his stuff ever since the interview, just because of how good of a kid he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's young, but I can tell you that I do not want to get chopped by that kid. Fuck
oh boy.
that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him chop somebody, and I was like,
it was probably Garrison.
I think so.
Yeah, the All-Star.
Yep. Oh,
yeah.
Hate this goddamn shit. He's such a good kid, and I told him this. I said, look, man, I'm excited as a fan to see where not Casey Black Rose goes, but Casey Martinez goes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go to Japan? Do you go to Mexico? Do you go ROH, AEW, WWE? Wherever you go, you've got a fan for life in me. Just one, because you're a good kid. And two, like you guys said, the passion, the knowledge, the willingness to learn, everything about that kid says superstar.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it definitely helps to have a collective to bounce ideas off of. How does that help with you guys, obviously being married? Is there stuff where you go, when you're at home, especially with you, Lilith, you being the manager, where you're like, oh, we could definitely incorporate that this way, or I could say something, and does that happen a lot?
All the time. If I'm ever by myself, I'm usually writing or recording promos. That's what I do. And so I'll think of a case in point. We had a match coming up. Was it the ASF one that I woke up at like 4:00 in the morning? Or was it Fridays?
Oof, I don't remember.
It was a match with either ASF or Trey Miguel. I woke up at 4 a.m. after having a dream about some kind of storyline we did. I then proceeded to not go back to sleep until I wrote this promo out and had this whole thing planned out, and, told him in the morning. First, he laughed at me because the fact that I dreamt this up. But we do that all the time. We banter with each other like, hey, what do you think about this? Or if we are doing a promo for a company, it's like, okay, well, how should we go in with this company? Do we know if we're face, heel? Do we know anything that we want to base a storyline off of? Because a lot of the times it's not necessarily on us as the talent to create the story, but it kind of is. If we're debuting at a promotion, we want to make sure that they want to bring us back and not just do a one-off.
Yeah.
So that's, we're always bantering in one way or another, be it something we're doing promo wise or a move set or anything like spots. We always talk about spots just to try to keep the momentum going for anything we do in this industry.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps you to have somebody to say, hey. The good thing about you guys being married is that if there's a dumb idea, you can look at each other and be like, that's really dumb, don't do that. And
Yes.
not have the
Yeah, he does it all the time.
Like, yeah.
but that also gives you the, you know, that kind of callous to if say you go to AEW or WWE and you pitch something and they tell you it's dumb, you're like, okay, well, my husband would have said the same shit to me anyway. So
Yeah.
let's think of another one.
Yep. No hard feelings there.
Absolutely. So one of the other things that I got into with Casey and I want to ask you guys about is psychology. I'm a big fan of actual not doing moves just because you can do moves.
Mm-hmm.
I like it to, as a guy who's been in a fight, the wrestling business is supposed to suspend my disbelief and make me think that this is a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Without that psychology, it's just, okay, you can do a 630. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
How important is psychology to you guys? And where do you think you guys have learned the most from psychology wise?
Oh, I mean, obviously Marvel has helped us a lot with psychology. We've had Funaki, he's been great, and you know, he's still with WWE. So he really lets us know, like, he's honest. He's like, no, don't work. Like, all right, great. You know, when we first debuted our personalities, he was like, oh, you don't speak? I go, no. He's like, okay, don't speak ever. Like, okay. You know, that's what she's there for. So, you know, the psychology comes out, you know, I think the biggest psychological thrill with us is our entrance, because it's a two-part. We actually just had it redone by a couple of friends of ours. Our friend Steve from Within the Ruins just redid the vocals for it. So it's even more of a brutal entrance now.
It's girthy.
Yeah. So, that in itself sets the tone of how we're going to be in the ring. So, you know, we have those parts where we like kind of switch that gear and go a little bit quicker. But anytime I'm in there, I get in there, I jump in and I just go to the corner, take my jacket off, and I just stare at them. And sometimes I'll sit, and that kind of like, it gets the crowd like, why is he sitting? And people are like telling the other guy to to run at me, like, if he's sitting, just go. And they're excuse me.
You need water?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll be right back.
That people are like so confused as to why I'm sitting, and then it depends on who I'm wrestling, you know. Their reaction really pushes that. And then when we lock up, it's that slow, like they're all hyped and they're all going, and I'm just slowly walking with them, and we lock up. And after every pin, I kind of just sit up like how the Undertaker would and just stare at them, and then I'll get up real quick and get in the referee's face. So that right there, it's showing, thank you. It's showing, you know, like my power, my anger, without really doing a lot. Because again, you know, I can go up and do a moonsault, but what's that going to mean? So with me, the only time I ever get up on the turnbuckle is when I do my double stomp. And that's my finish. So the fact that when people see me get up there, they're like, oh, it's over, it's done. So I agree with that. I think psychology is so important. I mean, that's when she really comes into it.
So a lot of people, fans, whoever's at the match, they always make a comment about how into the match I am. I'm not there to feed the crowd. I rarely will turn around and say things to the crowd, but I'm there to create the psychology of, I'm watching my leader, so to speak, my equal in battle. And so my reactions to when he gets hit adds to that psychology. My reaction to when he lays someone out adds to that. There's moments there, he'll pause what he's doing and look at me, and we stare at each other. It's almost like people are like, what are they planning? What are they doing? So I think even that, just the acting side of just me being there adds to his psychology in the ring.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's excuse me. It's cool to see a manager who's not just giving random low blows or talking shit to the crowd all the time, but somebody who has this demeanor of, yeah, I hear you, but go fuck yourself. I'm here where I'm at. And on top of that, you kind of serve symbolically as the Undertaker's urn to Crowley, where you're a source of, he can draw his power from you. He can get the finish them look. He can get, that's one of the things that I've noticed about you guys, the matches that I've been fortunate enough to watch on YouTube, is that you guys draw off each other really, really well. So I know you guys have some outside of San Antonio dates coming up. Where are you guys heading at, and where can people outside of outside of San Antonio see you guys?
We're gonna have our first outside of San Antonio show for Phoenix International up in Oklahoma City, so we're really excited for that. Yeah, that's August 27th.
You have the dates.
Yeah, and then we're in talks with a couple of the promotions. Our biggest one that we're talking with, and it's because I'm really good friends with one of the promoters for it, is AAW Pro up in Chicago.
Awesome.
So they're kind of like production wise, they're up there like Impact and WWE and AEW. So they're definitely one of the ones that we really want to work with. So I've talked to him a couple times, and he wants to bring us in sometime in the fall.
And we have PPW coming up.
Yep.
And
we've got TWL on the 15th of next month.
That's in FAR.
Yep, that's literally far. But we're excited. We love working with them. They've been really cool, and we've got something really special planned with them for October. So definitely keep an eye out for that one, because that one's going to be one of those holy shit moments. And then we have our next hybrid show on the 21st. We're waiting to we would love to go to Elevate. Just have them contact us.
I actually interviewed the promoter, so after this I will send her a DM and tell her, hey.
Perfect.
Thank you.
We've got the next hybrid show coming up on the 21st, and that one's going to have Vandegrift and James Storm. Right now, we may or may not be there. We've got some stuff in the works that is going to dictate what happens with us that weekend. If we aren't there, it's for a very good reason, which I can't disclose. But if it happens, oh hey, what up, dude? But if it happens, it's gonna be a really cool opportunity that's gonna get us up on the map a little bit more. I mean, we're all over right now. We've got a standing home with Lucha-Maniacs. They're actually reopening LWA, which we're really excited for. We unfortunately won't be at their grand opening show on the 15th because we will be with TWL, but we'll be working with them on forward from there. So there's quite a bit where we can be found, and we always post everything on Instagram and Twitter where we are and all of those things. Where we're going, and so
is there any chance, just for my curiosity, that on August 20th we see you guys at the Mission Pro show?
I don't believe not us.
Casey.
I believe Casey will be there because I think I just saw them promote it. Yeah. No, what we may be doing, I don't even know. Let's just put it. Yeah. We're on step number 2 of it, or we will be on Sunday. So we'll see how that goes, and that's going to kind of determine. But we have spoken with Mel about possibly doing future stuff with Mission Po, which would be great because they're fantastic. I mean, their roster is incredible. I mean, they've got a great support system. Mel's obviously one of our favorite people. We've trained with Dunderosa here and there. Obviously, you know, we're close with Madison, and we've trained with her in the past, and so they're doing some really great stuff. So I'm excited to see what their next step is, because I know that company is just growing.
Oh yeah, they're the goddamn sky's the limit for them. They're taking off crazy. Let's see. I had a question and I just forgot it. Actually, you know what, Lilith, this is kind of for you as a woman to see where the business is going now compared to, you know, back in the day when scumbags were allowed to be scumbags. How exciting is it for you not only to see the change of douchebags being kicked out of the business, but now women's wrestling, Mission Pro is a perfect example, is, I mean, main event everywhere. Big companies. How crazy is that, and how awesome is that for you as a woman to see that happening now?
It's beyond amazing. You know, I say there was a lot of good that came out of things being brought to light. I am a very, very, very strong woman who will tell people exactly how I feel. And if I feel you step out of line, I'm going to make sure you know it. So it's really great to not feel like you have to be that up, like that ready to go at any of these shows. We're respected. Finally we're respected in the industry as not just valets or eye candy, or, you know, the matches are getting main evented. And we just had, case in point, at the last hybrid show, we had Key Vibes who came back. It was her first back in ring in a minute against Miss Michelle, who it was her debut. And these are my girls. These are the girls I work with in the ring day in and day out. And their match was, I mean, they stole the show. They stole the whole show. It was amazing. So to witness that and to see what's happened for women's wrestling, it's beyond exciting to be a part of it in any way, shape, or form. And I love the direction it's gone. And I know it's just going to go up from there.
I think it's great. I think it's great to add to that. I think it's great that now women can stand up. You know, it's not how it was before, where like they were kind of pushed to the side, but now women can stand up for themselves instead of having to find a man to go do it for them.
Yep.
I think that is probably the most empowering part of it, is you don't have to go, you know, through people. You can just do it yourself. And like she said, she's not one person. She's not someone to fuck with. She's going to tell you straight up the minute she feels you've crossed the line. She will tell you.
Okay, so D from DNC Digital wants to know, why do you feel it took this long for women to be spotlighted commercially in the wrestling business?
Honestly, I think it's because we wouldn't speak up. In all reality, I think we in this industry in particular, you know, it was a men's sport. Mm-hmm. They brought us in initially. You know, you look at it was kind of, I wouldn't call it a joke, but it wasn't looked at or taken seriously like men's was. And I think women just over the years have become more and more empowered in themselves, and finally use their voice as power. And men realized, oh, we have people like Tessa Blanchard who can kick the shit out of anybody. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter. And, you know, then there's Jordan Grace, same thing. She just won 2 outside of the wrestling world. She just won powerlifting awards.
Yep. And set records.
Yes. Yeah. And we have these very strong women in the business who I think did need to come up and prove, like, we aren't just here to be pretty. We aren't just here to be a trophy. We're here to dominate. And I think when we finally developed that voice for ourselves, that's when they finally recognized that we were beyond just looks.
Yeah, I completely agree. The promoter that I was talking about from Elevate Pro, her name is Brittany Nicole. She's done some work with Mission Pro. She is the first woman in the history of the state of Louisiana to own and promote her own wrestling company.
Wow.
That's amazing.
In 2021, how insane is that? And when I had her on, she was telling me there are guys on, because they still have a wrestling commission.
Mhm.
There are guys on that commission who have been there since Jim Crockett was promoting.
Oh.
Yeah. And she's now finally taking over. I will definitely link you guys with her because she's fucking fantastic. She's such a great person, and she promotes the shit out of her wrestlers. She promotes her shows. She doesn't let people talk shit on her wrestlers. Like, she's one of those promoters where you're like, I'm a little scared of you. You're tiny, but you're terrifying.
We're usually the worst ones.
Yeah.
She's amazing. You guys will have a ball working for her. So we're almost at an hour, and I don't want to keep you guys too much longer, but I do have to ask, Crowley, I saw you you and I both had interactions with the Savage Gent on Twitter.
Yes.
When are we going to see that matchup? Because I'm kind of salivating.
Man, so Savage and I have been talking about doing this for a while, and we have tagged every promotion we can think of in Texas to book it. I mean, he's
A beast.
yeah, he's a monster. And he's so well respected, and I think now that we're starting to really make these steps and being recognized a bit more, I'm hoping that we can, within the next year, me and him throw some knees at each other, because I have the utmost respect for that man. Not only is he an incredible fighter, but he's also, I mean, he was just at Pele, and he was talking me up to them, and he's one of those dudes, man. Like,
He's just a good person.
Yeah, him and Brittany, we kind of just randomly connected. I don't even remember when. We just connected through social media and just became super close. And we talk all the time. And he's given me tips on fitness, and peanut butter, and
Yeah.
So I mean, that's gonna be a match that I'm waiting for. I know he is as well.
Yeah, I got a chance. I did that god awful 4-hour drive up to Arlington on Saturday, and I got a chance. The promoter gave me a press pass and let me cover the show, which is way beyond what I expected. I definitely would have paid for a ticket because their show was amazing.
Yeah,
I got a chance to meet Savage Gent, and couldn't have been a better dude.
Oh, yeah.
So the logos that I had customized for you guys, I made one for him and one for Lady Frost as well.
Yes.
And I brought him up to Pele, and I did a little something just kind of to personalize it for them. So she wasn't there; she was in Beaumont.
Yeah, she's doing Hurricane.
She killing it, apparently doing moonsaults on Legos and chairs and shit.
Nope.
Yep, I saw that.
Yeah. So I brought him a bag. It was a stone cold blue bag, but in the packing, I made sure to get this tissue paper that was ice blue.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, everybody can bring you anything, but if you're kind of paying attention to the details, I think it means a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And he signed autographs for my kids, took pictures. Such a good dude. He's another one that I'm trying to get on the show, just working out schedule wise between his real job and wrestling and all the other stuff. But yeah, that match, there's another guy who fought him at Pele Pro, Chandler Hopkins.
Oh yeah, we know Chandler.
You and Chandler, that would be a fucking insane.
Oh, I would be all about it. He's a super stand-up guy. We've seen him in a couple shows and we've interacted a little bit here and there, but yeah, he's super nice. I mean, there's so many Texas people that I just would love to wrestle. Obviously one of the big ones that are on my list is Izzy. Izzy James and I we were supposed to have some stuff going down at Fearless, but it didn't work out. So him and I we're waiting. We've got a couple of people that are interested in doing it. So we're just waiting for somebody to book it. I think him, I mean, he's just, there aren't really any words to describe him as a human being and as a performer. Like he's just amazing all the way around.
Yeah. Another guy I got to watch up at Pele, he fought Josh Alexander. And holy shit. I knew Josh Alexander. Obviously, I watched TNA.
Yeah.
But I wasn't super familiar with Izzy. And I tweeted something to the effect of, oh, this match could be good. And then I watched the match and I tweeted immediately. I was like, correction, this match was pure fucking fire.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Before I let you guys go, two things. One, DNC wants to know if I can get my freaking mouse to work again. There we go. Do male wrestlers ever experience body image issues in the sport, and is it difficult to address?
Man, absolutely. I've always, I mean, and if you go back down on my Instagram, there's a photo of me when I was about half the size that I am now. And I'm not that big. I'm about I go between 170 and 180. So even being able to put, 30 to 40 pounds on like that was so difficult. And then maintaining it as well has been very difficult. But, I still consider myself a very average looking person when it comes to my fitness image. And, then I have to wrestle somebody like Trey that looks like he was chiseled out of stone. Yep. So I think there is definitely there is still like, especially with men, that mental health it's always been like, oh, you're a man, suck it up. Mm-hmm. The beautiful thing now is we're all speaking out, and not really speaking out, but speaking to each other and being really supportive. So it is really difficult. I mean, we're hitting the gym as often excuse me. I'm hitting the gym as often as I can. And I personally, it's one of those things like I see myself in the mirror and I'm like, man, I'm not where I want to be. What do I need to do? And I'm pretty strict with my diet. Mm-hmm. I go to the gym 4 days a week. I'm training at the school 4 days a week. And at the same time, still trying to enjoy eating food, because there was one point where I took all of this so seriously that to me, eating was just substance. Mm-hmm. I wasn't eating to enjoy what I was eating. It was just, all right, I'm just going to eat the same shit every day. And finally I broke that. I was like, you know what? I need to be, if I wake up and say, you know what? I want to have this for dinner, and it's maybe not the best option, but I know that if I only eat X amount of it, I'm still going to be good. It's hard. Like I look at some of the guys that I train with and I'm like, man, like they're wider. I'm a taller guy. I'm 5'9", 5'10". So for me to get wide and to get my biceps and certain parts of my body to look a certain way, it takes a lot more work as opposed to somebody who's, 5'5" or 5'6". Those dudes they'll widen out so quickly. Oh, yeah. So when I see some of them and I'm like, man, like they've got more of that shit that I want to have. And then it makes it hard, especially, I've had a few, not major injuries, but I have some small injuries that have kind of pushed me back, like shoulder injuries where I can't lift as heavy. So I'm trying to push through it, but at the same time, I'm trying to make sure that I don't mess my shoulder up even more. So, I mean, I tell her all the time, I'm like, I just don't know. Like, I don't know what else to do to.
And I mean, as a wife, you support. And I think a lot of the guys as a whole may not have that. I'm not going to say they're not married, but I'm just in general, they may not feel like they can talk to. So a lot of the guys talk to me about it. Mm-hmm. Because I am honest. I've done the nutrition side. I understand counting everything. But I also know from at least a motherly, a lot of people say that I'm like the mom to a lot of people, because I'll motivate them in a motherly way of like, you can do this without starving yourself. You can do this without, having, like with him, I can't eat the same thing every day. I lose my mind. And so with him being able to, it made making food for us very difficult for me, because I was making his same thing. And then I would look at myself and be like, what am I going to eat? Because I'm not eating that. So once he broke out of that and realized he could eat what he wanted to eat, just in moderation, I think having the support of anybody, male or female, if you have an issue with your body, address it to someone. Because if you're just staring at yourself and constantly beating yourself up, your mental health is just going to decline.
Yeah. Body dysmorphia is a thing. I mean, for men and women. And,
yes.
You brought up a great point where men, especially wrestling was a macho sport. It's a combat sport. Men in the military went through the same thing. If you're depressed, shut the fuck up. You're a man. Oh, like go do what you have to do. But 2021, that shit doesn't fly anymore. Like mental health is so important, and it's such a dope space and time. Obviously, minus the COVID thing,
right?
It's such a dope space and time where now you can come on a podcast and you can say, yes, the mental health struggles are real, and you can be open and honest about it instead of stoic and I have to be Crowley the entire time. And it's such a dope. The last thing that I wanted to ask, the wrestling landscape is changing now where female wrestlers are no longer female wrestlers. They're just wrestlers. The age of intergender matches is coming back.
Yes.
So, one, is that something that you're open to? And two, do you have 1, 2, or 3 people where you're like, she and I could tear this shit down?
We've talked about it. Where we'd be open to doing certain things with certain people. Obviously, with her, we have to be really careful because she had an injury as a child, so she can't get hit in the head. But I mean, we've talked about wrestling, possibly wrestling a lot of our friends, as in specific, as specific, like looking.
For you?
For me, yeah, I mean, I'm open to all challenges. I wouldn't say I have anybody specific that I would obviously, like, I would love to wrestle like Lady Frost. Like, I feel like that would be such a fun and entertaining match.
Yeah.
Or Insidious.
Insidious would be insane just because of, we have that look. Yeah. And she's also a mute. Like, my gimmick is a mute. She's a mute. So it would literally just be 2 mutes.
It would
making
be
noises.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Just 2 mutes beating the shit out of each other.
Just 2 mutes beating the shit out of each other. Yeah. But honestly, like, I mean, I would love to wrestle Key. With her, it's somebody that, I train with all the time, and it's somebody that I've seen what she can do in the ring. So I would love to share a ring with her. Obviously, Madison, we've gone way back. So when it comes to that, she's another one that I'd be interested in wrestling. But honestly, to us, I'm again, it's an open thing. If somebody says, hey, we want to bring you in here and you're going to wrestle so and so, I was like, I don't look at what's between the legs. You're a professional wrestler, I'm a professional wrestler, so therefore it shouldn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. We're both athletes. So if somebody says, hey, we want you to wrestle Sid, okay, I'll wrestle Sid. We want you to wrestle Hyan, we want you to wrestle Vert, we want you to wrestle Rosa, we want you to wrestle blah blah. I don't care.
You're open.
Yeah, I'm open to it because that's where the professional aspect comes into it. I know some people are like, oh, it's just not believable. But when you look at somebody like Rosa, or you look at somebody like Grace, or you look at somebody like Tessa or Swole, or even, think about it back in the day, China.
Oh, yeah.
China was built like a truck. Like, she can knock the shit out of anybody. That's why she was the ninth wonder. So, you know, she broke that barrier, and then I think that barrier got kind of buried again, you know, once she kind of left. And now it's, again, like you said, you know, women's wrestling is becoming such a big thing. And Tessa was one of them that broke it when she started wrestling all the male athletes in Impact, and then became the Impact World Champion. Like, that was such a holy shit moment, and we were lucky enough to be there when it happened. So,
well, and to add, I'm 5'1", I'm a buck 20. Yeah. I have been in fights, real fights, with grown men and taken them down. So I know realistically that a woman could do that. They're not just going to go in there and do this stuff. That's not what happens. So I know that if he got in a ring with a woman, she's probably going to hit him harder than some of the guys do. And that's okay.
Yeah. You know, it's a contact sport.
Absolutely.
It is what it is. I'm just don't chop me, and we're fine.
Oh, yeah. Those things I love as a fan, to just hear that smack. But as somebody who's been, again, in a fight, I'm like, no, don't do that to me.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Anytime I wrestle somebody, and a lot of the times I wrestle friends with, so it's always funny. I'm like, if you chop me, I'm going to kick the fuck out of you right in the chest. And I said that to when I wrestled the tag match against David Kidd and Drew Hu. He's like, oh, let's do a chop kick thing. And I was like, okay, but if you chop me, it's going to hurt you more than me. And he chopped me, and somebody screamed harder, and it was my turn. So I just popped him right in the chest. So I left a little mark. He's fine.
He's fine.
But
those things, Pele, when I watched that, Pele, who Mysterious Q was up there, and he chopped. That's a big ass dude. If you guys don't,
yes, he is.
Yeah,
that dude's got to be 6'2" and probably 245.
Yeah, he's
swollen
not
as fuck.
small.
And he chopped this dude who was no bigger than like 5'7" in the chest, and it sounded like a frying pan smacking a chalkboard.
Oh no!
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And the Pele Pro, literally, I was in the second row, and you were. Second row was only 10 feet away from the ring, so you heard it. I mean, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ! And then the guy got up, and literally the one chop, he's got a welt, he's got the hand grip, and it busted his chest open. That's how hard he hit him.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm not about that life.
No, that's not a life I ever want anything a part of. You guys, thank you again for coming on. You guys have been awesome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely, man. Like, I'm hoping this is enough to let me join the cult. Because I'm definitely interested.
Yeah. We tell everybody, all our fans and followers are part of the cult. You know, it's Casey is our in-ring cult member partner, you know, but anybody that follows us, anybody that supports us, like, they are, you know, there wouldn't be a cult without the fans. You know, we would just be two goth kids wrestling, you know, like that's what it comes down to. And I've mentioned this, I think.
And if
before.
you chant Crowley's gonna kill you,
yeah, then that's even better. I got one of those at after hour show in GCWA, and that was really cool. Like, hearing people say that was awesome.
But I think you can be a member.
Yeah.
I think you have what it takes.
You guys are definitely part of the Chaos Club. I have the shirts getting made now.
Wonderful. Can't wait.
I just have to get my guy to redesign one for Marvel, because I forgot to run. When he was like, yeah, my name is Marvel and I wear a large, I was like, sweet.
Yep.
Yeah. You gotta get, I mean, if there was no Marvel, there was no us, you know. He's been so wonderful letting us run with this. And you know, when we did debut, my biggest thing that I brought up to him was like, I don't want to just be thrown in a match. I was like, I want to build a story. I want to build, and he let us do that. And that's where the cult started with, me against Garrison, and then Casey got turned. And then that created the 6-month rivalry between us and Chip Garrison and Drew, who are all, everybody that we train with are just amazing. I've gotten to wrestle almost all of them now. I've wrestled Brandon twice, and he's just extremely professional, and he's just fun in there. Like, he's one of those guys that I get in the ring with him and he talks so much shit that I'm just biting my tongue so I don't laugh. And
I've hit him a few times.
And she's hit him a few times in matches, and so it's been great. And so the one that I'm looking forward to, that I'm hoping happens sooner than later, is a one-on-one with David. He's one of the few that I haven't wrestled. So we've had some talks about some possibilities. So hopefully in the next couple months that'll come up.
Absolutely. And eventually, not too soon, but eventually, a Crowley Casey Black Rose match would be kind of dope too.
That's been in the talks as well. We've got some ideas for a possible reprimand kind of thing.
Situation.
Yeah. So that's the thing about this is, because we train with such amazing athletes and we have such great friends in the industry, for us, we can work a story with anybody. We have that creativity where, okay, like example, with with Victor, like Savage Gentleman, like we've gone back and forth on Twitter, and we've gone back and forth on Instagram, and then we like love each other, and then we're like, oh, I'm gonna kick your head off. So it's this mutual respect, and so anything can be worked. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys, thank you again. If you guys are not following them, the info is on the bottom of the screen. You can follow them on Twitter, follow them on Instagram. It's been dope getting to know you guys tonight. It's been awesome. You guys have definitely gained me as a fan. You guys do great work. I cannot wait to see where you guys go in the future, whether that's indie darlings for the rest of your career, or you go and you take over WWE and tell them all to go fuck themselves. Whichever way you guys go, know that the Chaos Club has your back for life.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. You mean more to me than you guys will ever possibly know. Remember, life is chaos, and chaos is life.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Be sure and follow the podcast on Twitter at @chaos_theory pod.